Hi again, Greg Bell and Dave Boling, Century Field in Seattle, where, yes, you can see your breath. Cold night for more than just the weather, though, for the Seahawks. They won 40-7, and that's what everyone will see in the scoreline. But Earl Thomas's broken leg, I think, not, of course, only dampens tonight's game, but really changes the rest of this regular season for the Seahawks, not just on the defensive end and what he does in the secondary as a free safety. The three-time All-Pro is a pulse of the locker room. He is a beloved figure in there, offensively and defensively. Russell Wilson said it was a, quote, devastating blow because he's one of the best safeties to ever play the game. Dave, your immediate reaction to what the impact of losing Earl Thomas for perhaps the rest of this season, if not, as he tweeted, his career. He's contemplating retirement, according to his Twitter account.
I love this game and I hate this game. I hate what it does to people who play it and who play it so hard and who play it with such honor as Earl Thomas does. He plays it right. He plays hard. He does everything right. I don't think I've ever seen anybody with the competitive intensity that Earl Thomas had. And he's kind of beaten the odds by going 118 straight games. And he plays like a missile, as Rob Gronkowski said. And he's been the one who's been delivering the blows. To see him have the hamstring and then this broken leg, it is because he plays with so much emotion that at a time like this, he really has to contemplate his own career mortality. And I think maybe that's a part of it. I don't think Earl Thomas can conceive of playing in the game at a pace lower than 100 miles an hour. And I think that's the problem now. Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman after the game said, he just needs to take a time, get his breath, get his bearings again, and he'll come back. But Earl, as you know, is a different guy. He's a very interesting and unique individual, and if, he's had almost 7 years, so we'll have to see. But to hear somebody like him tweet that he's thinking about retirement is a sad day for the whole franchise.
It was a truly remarkable moment when he tweeted that, and it's the world we live in now. Twitter, it's such instantaneous. These give these athletes voices for their thoughts that they never had before Twitter, before Instagram. But for an NFL player to do that during a game that wasn't even half over yet, in which he had just gotten injured, he just had gotten an x-ray to say he had the broken bone below his left knee.
Earl Thomas, was heartbreaking.
It really was.
It was
for
heartbreaking.
Someone who knows them, and we're not fans, and we're paid to cover the team. But from a human level, we get to know these guys. And Earl told me all about going to Buffalo Wild Wings in Portland with his family last weekend when he couldn't play in the Tampa Bay game. He has always struck me as being vulnerable and exceptionally vulnerable and aware of his own mortality for how accomplished he is. A three-time All-Pro, considered one of the best, if not the best, at his position. And yet he constantly fears for his place in the game and his employment. It really
is. That's what drives him. And the thing that I went back to, a moment that I recall, and I've talked to him about it since then. In September 2012, they've got a Monday night game here against Green Bay, and it was a time when this franchise was just really starting that upward trajectory. And it was a huge game for these guys. His fiance goes into labor during the game and delivers it about halftime. Earl Thomas is here playing. And I asked him about it. The modern athlete now, they go to the hospital and they're part of it. And I think many guys are applauded for having that sensitivity. And I asked Earl about that, and he says, little Kaylee Rose, his daughter, she will know how passionate her dad was about his job. And I'm trying to make my daughter proud of how I played the game. And I don't think anybody could be more proud of the way he has played the game. So it was an interesting story, and again, tells you how much this game means to him.
I wouldn't be married for 20 years if I made a choice of working when my twins were born. That aside, nobody in the Seahawks locker room, organization, Pete Carroll, nobody's saying that Earl Thomas's career is in jeopardy because of this injury. Nobody's saying it's beyond what Carroll said was at least 6 weeks that he would miss, which would take him into the second playoff game, the first playoff game, the second playoff weekend of the season, the first one if the Seahawks can get this bye that they're about to closing in on. It's none of that. And as Dave mentioned, Cam Chancellor had said, look, give him some time to breathe. His tweet was in the heat of the moment. Russell Wilson said the same thing. And Thomas is already an emotional guy to begin with. So let's just get that clear to make sure no one else is talking that way. But that's Thomas, and that's how emotional he can be.
And the Seahawks needed this game.
They did.
To go back to the game, they really needed to prove that last week at Tampa Bay was an aberration, and it was not a trend. And I think what we saw with the offense here, very impressive in so many ways.
535 total yards, 240 of them running the ball. This is the 27th ranked rushing offense in the league entering tonight. Thomas Rawls went for 106. He had 103 at halftime. He got checked for concussion in the first half, said he's fine. He showed he's back to full strength. Tyler Lockett looked like maybe faster than he did at all his rookie season last year when he made the Pro Bowl as a kick returner. 75 yards down that sideline on the first play after halftime. He had a 46-yard kickoff return in the first half that sparked the response to Cam Newton's touchdown pass that had closed Carolina within 10-7.
And a 40-plus yard reception as well.
Right, and an 18-yard punt return. It was called back by penalty in the first quarter. He showed he was the fastest man on the field. Doug Baldwin said he's never seen a player run that fast on a football field than on the fly sweep for the 75-yard touchdown. If Lockett is that fast again after the sprained knee he got in Los Angeles in Week 2, September 18th, that changes the offense as well, because this season they wanted to give him the ball in many, many different ways, and we saw a glimpse of that tonight for the first time.
And Rawls can run it. And Russell Wilson is now mobile again and can scramble. And Jimmy Graham is a force, along with Doug Baldwin. All of a sudden, this offense is looking a little bit like it did toward the end of last year when it was very difficult for anybody to stop.
Justin Britt came back to center. Pete Carroll said that made all the difference in the world to the offensive line. I don't know if it was that simple. Britt said that they recommitted themselves and thought maybe they were a little too complacent going into Tampa Bay. Tyler Lockett said it was a wake-up call the team needed. Thought maybe they were better and to show that they could be
They also
beaten.
had some new wrinkles on some of their blocking that created some angles. And you get an angle to block on a guy, then that really helps on the creating holes for the run game.
That was George Fant's block in the first half on Thomas Rawls' first touchdown run. Anyway, it makes you think, how the heck did Tampa Bay happen last week? It looked more like the team that beat New England in New England last month. But the Earl Thomas injury will continue to be an issue for this team's psyche in the immediate future, including Sunday at Green Bay, when Steven Terrell will be the starting free safety for the rest of this season. The Seahawks are still 3 games up in the NFC West. Arizona won, but there are now only 4 games remaining in the regular season. The Seahawks are also still in the number 2 spot in the NFC playoff chase because Detroit also won, Atlanta lost, so the Seahawks are a half game up on the Lions. Dave and I will be in Green Bay, where it'll probably be even colder than this. A week from tonight, that's a 125 local kickoff, and we'll be here all week covering the Seahawks from Renton. Thanks for watching.